Hey, what's going on, folks? How are we doing tonight? Another episode of Bucco Talk. Um, as you see, we got a different background tonight, but it was for a reason. I was going to ask Rich what he thought this photo was and what the significance was. Oh,
Jari
hey, everybody,
Park.
this is Rich. I forgot.
No problem. Jari Park.
How you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing all right. Doing all right. You?
Oh, not too bad, I guess. Yeah,
I'm doing a lot better since the Pirates are winning.
yeah, it's been a good game, but I think we're getting rocky roads here.
That's all right. We just picked up two more in the seventh, so we're up five.
All right,
Um, to talk about the picture in the background, if memory serves, that's Jari Park, right?
Expos, Expo Park, original.
Is that Jari Park?
That were the I forget the name of it. Is that where the Expos played?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the significance of this picture?
Uh, Stargell hit one across the international date line from there. No. Uh,
Stargell hit one into the pool.
oh, okay. All right.
So that was the significance of that. Anyway, guys, we have a special guest with us tonight. He does foul ball talk over there with on his end of the network. Everyone knows him as Matthew Trigger. How are you tonight, sir?
What's up, Adam? What's going on, Rich? How you doing, man?
Good. Good. How you doing, Matt?
Good to meet you. What's going on, buddy?
You got 2-2 game right now as well, Matt. I just looked at your score.
Yeah, kind of been, you know, straightening up a little bit from my little Tasmanian devil and all that. But yeah, 2-2
Matt is
game.
our Matt is our Baltimore guy, Rich. Just to let you know, in case you haven't noticed in the background.
Yeah, I saw that funny purple stuff back behind him. Yeah, I see
Uh,
that. So
yeah,
I did radio right outside of Baltimore for about a year and a half. So
what
yeah,
station were you with?
I was with WCEM down in Cambridge.
Okay, that's other side of the bridge.
East,
But yep,
yeah, Eastern Shore. Yeah,
nice area down there. Salisbury College down that way.
yeah. It was about 20 minutes from Salisbury.
Very nice area. That's one of the finer areas of Maryland.
So, Matt, you've had off a couple days. What are you enjoying yourself?
I am. Just this time starts to pick up in court, and our inmate rides go from having one or two on the van to having 17 at a courthouse, like almost overnight. So my days have been long and arduous to say the least. Uh, but I was off yesterday. I'm off today. I'm off tomorrow, and I'll be back at it Friday. I had to work last Saturday, so it was just one of those things where it's just been a lot in a short period of time. But I am recharging the battery. It's my little girl's last day of school tomorrow, so I am picking her up and taking her out for a little celebratory day. You know,
Nice. Now, Matt, you guys lost some pitchers, obviously. Done for the year.
yeah. Before I get to our pitching woes, I do want to point out something that I saw on X earlier today, and Paul Skeens blew away Shohei Otani with three straight 100-mile-an-hour plus fastballs, and he made it look so damn easy. You guys have an absolute stud there.
The second time around, Otani showed him this is why I'm MVP.
It's still it's one at bat at a time, But to KO Otani on three straight 100-mile-an-hour fastballs, you're not going to win them all. But hey, I still like what I see from him. He's going to be a very good pitcher for you guys for a long time.
Paul Skeens has, has the record this season for fastest pitches. Just to let you know, from a starting pitcher. in a row, 10 at over 100 miles an hour.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised in the least bit. But to address what you said, Adam, about our pitching woes, John Means and Tyler Wells both are now on the shelf for the next 18 months. They are both having their second go around at Tommy John surgery in their pitching arms. Um, John Means was here through our last bout of shitty baseball, and he got hurt right when we got pretty good. So it's kind of sad to see him essentially miss out on the fruits of the labor of the years of suckage, and now under this new leadership with David Rubenstein as owner and Mike Elias as our general manager. I don't see, unless Means switches over to a Jamie Moyer-esque type of pitching, I don't see him at the major league level ever again, especially here in Baltimore. And today there was some not so great news about Kyle Bradish being shut down for his start tomorrow, and they're going to evaluate whether he's going to be back next week or not. And Brandon Hyde was relatively tight-lipped in his pregame press conference. We brought up Cade Povich from AAA. He's got an under 3 ERA, and he is a strikeout machine, at least at the minor league level. So I'm hoping that there's a little bit of a reinforcement there, but we're starting to get into the desperate waters, so to speak. We're going to have to make a move for a pitcher, and it's going to have to be relatively soon because I don't see them heading into post All-Star break with their current crop of starters minus Burns and Grayson Rodriguez.
Now, I did read, I don't know, in the rumor mill, obviously, everyone's going to talk about trades, Matt. I read Priester, who's 23 years old, under contract. I believe they said through 26. Pretty good. Just got recalled. With any chance, obviously Tellez isn't really working. Connor Joe, I think he just went on a shelf, right, Rich? 10-day.
No, Connor Joe's
That
playing.
was Bay, right? Bay went on the shelf for 10 days.
Yeah,
But
Bay
anyway,
went on the shelf.
Anyway, Matt, we need a first baseman, and someone said Priester for O'Hearn, and I didn't know if you heard anything of that or your thoughts on that.
Now, see, I haven't really heard anything down here on the Baltimore radio waves for the simple fact that it's really more of a necessity for you guys than it is for us. And right now, we're just so honed in on finding pitching, either starting or bullpen help, and a closer, a consistent closer, because Craig Kimbrell has been anything but consistent this year. And it's interesting about O'Hearn because O'Hearn is one of the old dogs of this team, quote unquote. And if it can net us a halfway decent minor league prospect, I would be for trading Ryan O'Hearn. He's kind of in the way of holding up some of these young guys from coming up. Hessen Kjerstad's back down in the minors. We just brought up Connor Norby. We have Kyle Stowers up here now. Kobe Mayo is currently injured. He a couple of weeks ago he fell in the dugout trying to catch a foul ball and cracked a couple of ribs. So he's slowly coming back, but he's top 10 on the prospect, pipeline. We have Samuel Basayo, who is in the top 10 as well. He's a catcher and a first baseman. He could potentially get a look at first base at the end of this year, if not early next year. And he's only 19 or 20 years old. So trading O'Hearn could be a realistic possibility. I just don't know if the Orioles are going to be inclined to move him unless we get more of a major league ready arm.
Yeah, and you were talking about, the guys that are gone currently. A lot of people fail to remember that, Felix Bautista hasn't seen the field this year because he's
not
coming
going
off
to.
of surgery from last year. Cano is not what he was last year. Dean Kramer has been on the IL. So yeah, I mean, when you looked at the Orioles and I'm in Waco, Texas, man. Rangers have been my number 2. I grew up with the Rangers, on paper, just like last year. I've said more than once that the Orioles on paper were the team to beat in the American League. But as you see these injuries start picking off guys, it's got to be tough from your end because your true ace in the bullpen has been gone and will be gone for the rest of this season. The guy you were hoping to pick up his spot, he's been okay, but Cano has not been what he was last year at all.
Cano struggles with his command. Cano was protected by Bautista.
True.
A lot of people in Baltimore wanted Cano to be the closer last year, and it ended up being Bautista, which is okay. And Bautista is going to be a fantastic closer when he comes back, and unless this surgery completely messes him up. I just hold my breath with every pitcher. I think everybody should, in a way, that eventually at some point in time that Tommy John surgery is coming for him. It's almost like it's an omen. If you're a hard throwing pitcher and you're gassing the ball 98 to 103, at some point in time it's going to rip, and that's just the sad reality of baseball. But our injuries have been piling up. We found Albert Suarez off, the proverbial scrap heap. He's been pretty good in spot duty, and he's been the long guy in the bullpen in the absence of Tyler Wells. Cole Irvin's having a surprisingly solid year as a starting pitcher. We didn't expect a whole lot out of him after an up and down 2022 and 2023 campaign here in Baltimore. And now we're kicking the tires on a guy we had in spring training, Julio Teheran from the Atlanta Braves. He's looking to be back into the fold by the middle to end of this month. So it's getting a little desperate here in Birdland. We're starting to be linked to some starting pitching. This morning there was an article that came out where the Orioles were linked to the ace in the Chicago White Sox major league team, Garrett Crochet. And we've been linked to Jesus Luzardo. We've been linked to a couple different guys. And it's just now teams know that we're desperate. So they're not going to be wanting mid-level prospects. They're going to want somebody that's, quote unquote, up and coming big dog for the Orioles. So things are going to get a little bit dicey. Elias is going to have to be okay with status quo, or he's going to have to come up off of Stowers, Norby, Kerstad, Dylan Beavers. Somebody's going to have to go, and it's going to be heartbreaking to the majority of this fan base because just like any other fan base, we get attached to our guys.
Well, and I heard on MLB Network the name of Chris Bassett flying around. That if Toronto continues struggling, everybody's been talking about, Toronto possibly dumping a bunch of big names, Bo Bichette, Vladimir Guerrero, that Bassett might be somebody headed in that possibility of going to Baltimore. I don't know if they make the move inside the division, but boy, now a guy like Bassett would be a good piece to add to that rotation.
He would, but I never count on division rivals dealing with us.
Right.
It's rare that we do, and when we do, it's kind of a head scratcher because as a born and bred Baltimore Orioles fan, I've been conditioned to not like the Yankees, to not like the Red Sox, to not like the Blue Jays, to not like the Texas Rangers. Now it's it's been more so in recent years where we are dealing with teams in our division. I know the Blue Jays are not going to deal Bo Bichette or Vlad Jr. down here. And quite frankly, we don't need Bo with having Gunnar Henderson. But Vlad at first base would probably be an offensive upgrade over Ryan Mountcastle, but a defensive downgrade. Because Mountcastle's playing Gold Glove caliber first base, at least on the American League. So it's definitely a nice landing spot for us.
Well, but until about 2 weeks ago, Vlad couldn't hit a basketball.
Correct. he's been struggling, and he's regressed every year since that MVP caliber season, and it's been baffling. I would love to have Bo Bichette here. I mean, not playing shortstop, obviously, but everyday third baseman, everyday second baseman. I know he's been a shortstop all of his life, but Bichette is the Oriole killer. He can't hit against anybody else in the division, but when he sees us, he hits 800 in the series. So
yeah. I mean, I'll tell you what though, when I look at your starting 8, it's as good as anything in the league. Even with Mateo being a little bit of a roller coaster and that kind of a deal with the stick, to me that looks as good as it's going to get. And of course, Cowser coming into his own this year has made a big difference for you guys. I'm sure it's allowed Santander to not necessarily have to be in the outfield as much because I know he's got some knee issues and that kind of thing. You look at you guys' position players. They're top to bottom the best in baseball next to Philly.
We're up there. We're definitely a top 5 team if you look at us top to bottom. I won't disagree with you there. But critical in an objective way, a non-biased way, with our 8, Cedric Mullins is barely hitting the ball. I mean, he's starting to come around a little bit, but Cedric Mullins was batting 190 for about a month. And Austin Hayes got hurt, and that allowed Colton Cowser to come into his own being an everyday outfielder. And then we have Kyle Stowers, who is kind of like in that he's kind of like in that limbo position where he's not a prospect anymore, but he's not a full-time major leaguer. And now they're making him a full-time major leaguer, and we need to get him at more at bats. But to be honest, looking at our roster, Santander and Mullins might not be here to see this rebuild through, because we have Heston Kjerstad waiting in the wings. We have Enrique Bradfield Jr. waiting in the wings. We have Dylan Beavers, who are all outfielders, and they all play first base as a side, as like a backup situation, with the exception of Bradfield Jr. But we do have a lot of young guys that are ready to come up, and that's even scarier because we got some real bats in the minor leagues that are ready to make some noise at this level, and we're still producing it. As even when you said with Mateo can play everywhere on the field except catcher. It's crazy that he's played almost everywhere with the exception of catcher and first base.
Well, and Adam and I have talked about Holiday's issues. When Holiday finally gets it to, back to where he's ready to come back, which he will, everybody knows that. I mean, the kid is way too talented to not do that. Mateo is going back to being your floater, because your infield is set with Gunner and with the guys there.
Now, see, that's where a lot of people have that automatic assumption, and a lot of Birdland does too. But the rumors are starting to get louder that they're going to transition Jackson Holliday to center field. And, he was a natural shortstop, and then they moved him to second base. He struggled, hitting the ball. He made a couple of mistakes in the infield. But now there's talk that, with Cedric Mullins being 30 plus, and then he's now 5 years removed from that 30-30 season. If they don't see Colton Cowser as an everyday center fielder next year, that they may transition Jackson Holliday to center field over the offseason heading into 2025. And that's a different scenario, because now you have an extra infield spot that you could theoretically open up. And Jordan Westberg's a fantastic infielder at third base, and he has experience at second base. If you can keep his bat's not leaving this lineup. He's probably our second or third best hitter, depending if you put his hitting above Adley. Because obviously Gunner is far and away the best baseball player on this team. And it's crazy how that rumor picked up, because they're comparing him to Jackson Merrill, because Jackson Merrill was an infielder and he's at the major league level in center field.
Well, and see, I was thinking Robin Yount.
Okay, that's
the transition from shortstop, to center field, was a very good shortstop. Made the transition to center field, and I mean, Hall of Fame career, and Gold gloves in both positions, that kind of thing.
You're right, and we're seeing it in the league now where talented infielders are now being moved to the outfield. If you look at the San Diego Padres starting lineup at the beginning of the year, there were 7
Mm-hmm.
former shortstops in other positions.
Mm-hmm.
Every position in the outfield and second and third base were all former shortstops at some other juncture of their major league or minor league career.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's where Tatis Jr. started. That's where Manny started. That's where Bogart
Gophard with
started.
the Rangers.
Yeah. Jackson Merrill started there. It's crazy. And then on the opposite end, you got Mookie Betts, who was an all-star outfielder pretty much everywhere he played in the outfield.
Yeah.
And now he's a gold glove caliber shortstop with the Dodgers.
True.
I don't know what you guys think, but I think if you can play, you can play. It's
Correct.
not one of. I mean, the catcher position is entirely different. But outside of that, if you can play, you can play. I mean, you could. Bryce Harper is a perfect example of that because he played the outfield. He's converted into a first baseman, and he's converted into a hell of a first baseman.
And it's
In the last couple of years,
and it's given his career longevity.
it has, and there's been a lot of guys that flexibility makes their careers last a little bit longer because they're not putting the wear and tear on themselves.
Yeah.
And they're not doing as much either running or pounding on their legs or whatever. And the universal DH has helped with that too. But if you've got a guy that can play right, can play left, picks the angles well, can play the corners on the infield, can play the middle of the infield, it's more than one position is the norm now instead of what used to be the utility guy that was the 10th guy off the bench.
And that's what makes Ryan O'Hearn valuable to the Orioles. To kind of circle back to the
Right.
beginning of this conversation, Ryan O'Hearn came in here as, when we claimed him off waivers from the Royals, he was initially just a pinch hitter or a spot DH. And then we taught him how to play the corner outfield positions, and he got some work at first base. So now he can play left field, he can play right field, he can play first base, and he's a reliable bat at DH. So you can plug Ryan O'Hearn into 4 different positions, even though his defense in the outfield is subpar, to put it, respectfully. But all these players now have value. And I want to bring up something you mentioned about catching, though, Rich. Adley Rutschman has had more rest days this year at catcher. Being a catcher, he's had more days at DH in the first 2 months of this season than he did all of last year.
Well, you also have James McCann sitting there, which makes a big difference. You
It makes
have
a big
someone
difference.
that you can put there. Yeah. But what I was meaning is catcher, to go from catcher to someplace else, usually first base, but third conceivably. Biggio went from catcher to second, that kind of thing. That's more common than much more common
Yes.
than seeing somebody go from left field to behind the plate. You don't see too many guys go from somewhere in the field behind the plate. They'll go from behind the plate out in the field, but not vice versa.
And to kind of bring out a throwback name from Baltimore, BJ Surhoff originally started his career as a catcher, and he ended up being an everyday left fielder for years.
Yep.
Here in Baltimore, and I believe he was a catcher in the Milwaukee Brewers system.
He was.
He transitioned to left field full time. And like you said with Biggio was just like Surhoff, they were undersized for the catchers that they were looking for back in those days. So I think the transition might have been a little bit easier for them because Biggio ended up being one of the best second basemen of his generation.
Well, he also played Gold Glove center field also.
Very true.
But I mean, you got to remember Surhoff was the catcher on the '84 Olympic team when McGuire was there and guys like that. So it's not one of those that he was a catcher and they moved him to the outfield. He was a really good catcher that they moved to the outfield. By the way, a little breaking news as we're raising the Jolly Roger in Pittsburgh. They didn't blow it at him.
At 10-6.
Bullpen didn't blow it, but yeah, I mean that's one of those positions you usually go one way. You don't go both. You
You're
don't go
right.
in and out.
I like how they're using McCann this year. But the only thing about McCann is that when McCann's in the lineup, he's our number 9 hitter, and he does not hit very well. His bat has lost pop the last couple of years. That's why I think when they bring up Basayo, if they don't trade him away, you're going to see a steady rotation of Basayo and Adley at catcher and DH moving forward, which is going to be good for us.
It's funny you bring that up. I've always wondered, and I've got a lot of coaches in my background and through the years of broadcasting and all this other kind of stuff. I've always wondered why you put your catcher in the 9 hole, because your catcher should be going in the 7 hole. And this is what a lot of very successful managers have told me, because the speed or lack thereof, because let's be honest, 99% of catchers, they time them with a speed sundial.
No.
You're slowing down your leadoff guy.
Yeah.
So you put a McCann out there and you're leading off Gunner. Well, he hits one in a gap. He's crawling up McCann's back by the time he gets to second base. And you always wonder about that. And the Rangers are one of those teams that have moved that catcher into the 6 or 7 hole with Heim, and they hit Leody Taveras at 9. So you got some speed at 9, speed at 1 with Simeon. And I've noticed even the Pirates have started doing that, where they don't put the catcher in that spot. Now, Rushman's one of those exceptions to the rule. Yeah, because he has pretty decent speed. And you would be a fool to not have him in the top 4 of your order anyway.
He's been hitting 2 for as long as I can remember now.
Yeah, I mean, but you could hit him realistically 1 through 4 and not have a negative impact.
It raised a couple eyebrows because there was a few points last year where he was leading off, and a lot of us in Birdland love Gunner batting leadoff, but I'm in the minority where you got to back Gunner at 3 or 4 because the dude hits home runs, and I think 75% of his home runs this year have been solos because it's from the leadoff in the batting order.
Right.
I think 13 or 14 of his home runs have come solo shots out of the 19 he has.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't mind him moving down in the order. I personally want Jordan Westberg leading off permanently on this team, or even throw Cowser at leadoff to see what
Cowser's who I was thinking of.
Cowser is your prototype, because Cowser gives me Markakis vibes. And, Markakis hit anywhere 1 through 4 for the majority of his career as an Oriole. So, it doesn't make any sense to bat the catcher, especially if it's a McCann at 9. But most of the time we're batting Mateo at 9 because he's essentially a second leadoff hitter.
Right.
Once you go through the lineup the first time, that second go round, if you got 9-1-2 coming up, it's essentially 1-2-3. So
right.
it makes a world of sense because Mateo might be one of the fastest players in Major League Baseball. He's definitely the fastest Oriole on the team.
Yeah. Yeah. If I'm sitting here thinking about it, and if you went Westberg leading off, work with me on this one. You hit Rushman 2, Gunner 3. I think you're fine.
Absolutely. You
put yourself in a Dodgers type situation where your 4 guy doesn't have to be. I mean, let's be honest. Will Smith is not your prototypical 4 hitter, but
he's not.
The 3 guys ahead of him are so freaking dependable to get on base that he's going to have somebody to drive in. And then you run Teoscar Hernandez behind him to protect him. But, whoever you put in that 4 hole, whether it's, Santander or whoever you put in the 4 hole, there you go.
They've been rotating him.
Mountcastle.
Yeah, they've been rotating between Mountcastle and O'Hearn at 4 for a while, and they've been
Yeah.
batting 4 or 5 usually. And Westberg was batting 6 for the longest time. It was either Westberg or Cowser. But I'm
Yeah.
all for Westberg, Adley, Gunner. I mean, you can bat anybody at 4 at that point because you're guaranteed at least one base runner in the first 3, and because those 3 are also our 3 most patient hitters. They walk the most out of everybody else in the starting 9.
And Cowser might be run this one through for a second. Put Cowser at 8.
I'm not
Go
objecting to
Cowser,
that.
Mateo rolling to the top. Cowser and Mateo rolling to the top.
It's definitely I play around with the lineup a lot just looking at it because on our show over on Foul Ball Talk we've constantly worked through different lineups and who you could put here and who you could put there, and a lot of it is really contingent upon whether Cedric Mullins is hitting or not, because if Cedric Mullins isn't hitting, he's generally at 8 or 9.
Mm-hmm.
So, but if he starts
Yeah.
hitting, they bump him up to 6 or
8
7.
Matt, with no hits, but he does have a walk and a run.
Who Mullins? Yeah, we love Cedric here, but in Baltimore, but it's getting painful to watch this be an almost nightly occurrence where you can, whether you listen to the game on the radio, Rich, or you're watching the game on television, you're pretty much waiting for SETI to, give you an out.
Well, Westbrook went over 4 tonight. That surprised me.
Yeah, Westbrook. I mean, Westbrook's. I don't expect him to scorch the league for weeks on end. He's gonna work through his adjustments just like every other major leaguer. But I like the fact that they're not taking him out of the lineup and letting him work through his stuff. Anything that he's got going on mentally or emotionally, they let him work. The kinks out.
And you do that with a guy that's got the talent. It's a lot like the the Gavin Lux thing with the Dodgers. The talent is there. They're giving him as many chances as humanly possible to work through it. That injury last year, that injury is living rent free right here.
Mm-hmm.
And
it should tonight.
you can tell from the way he's playing.
He's playing scared.
Yeah.
You
can tell when he runs.
Gavin Lux is one of my favorite players to watch. I don't know. There's just something about Dodgers shortstops that I don't know why.
Speaking of, we've been talking about O'Hearn quite a bit. He's 2 for 4 tonight, and he's hitting in the 4 hole. And Santander's 1 for 3 with a home run. And yeah, even Santander, he's having an off year. I went to opening day, and Lord, was it freezing? It was end of March in Baltimore on a rainy day. That was brutal. I sat all the way up top.
You got your new sweatshirt, Matt.
I did. Yeah, my sweatshirt that I had to go get in the beginning of the game because I stupidly wore a T-shirt to the ballpark. Yeah, Santander. When he gets hot, he's a dangerous 4 or 5 hitter. Like Rich said earlier, he's dealing with a knee injury. He's just not hitting that well this year. He might be one of those veterans that might go in a deal for a bullpen arm. I'm not saying he's going to get a lot in return, but there's some guys on this team that are in danger of not being here to see this potential championship caliber team through this year and beyond.
Matt, I know you didn't want to stay on long, but I thank you for coming on for a half hour plus. Anyway, the MLB All-Star voting started today. Are you going to vote?
I used to spam the All-Star ballot boxes, from different emails trying to get, make my impact on that. I'll vote, but I at the end of the day, the league is going to have their darlings in this game, regardless of what anybody says or does. And we don't. The thing is, it's blind voting because we truly don't know how many votes these players have. The league can make up anything they want, and I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist about it, but I'm just being a logical thinker that I have a feeling Adley and Gunner are going to be all stars. Corbin Burns should be an all star.
Yeah.
Beyond that, there hasn't been any consistent play at first base or second base or honestly anywhere in the outfield. Nobody's really had enough at bats in the outfield to warrant a all star invite.
The most consistent guy at first base and the best performing guy at first base is Mountcastle.
He is, and he's
Hitting
coming on.
280.
Yeah,
He's hitting 280. He's got 10 bombs. I mean, come on.
He's hitting 280 with 10 bombs, but if you look at the American League, how many other first basemen are there?
I'm looking at it right now.
It's a popularity contest. He might be up there statistically, but I'm not anticipating Mountcastle being an all-star, even though if he continues hitting the way he is, he should get the all-star nod. I just don't see him getting it. I'm just being cautiously optimistic that I'm hoping he gets it. But you can make a case. You can make a case for Westberg at third base.
You could. It's tough to go against Devers, though.
Exactly.
Just the way he's played. I mean, Devers he's hitting 288. He's got 13 bombs, 32 RBI. He's got 956 OPS. I mean, that's all-star numbers. Good, bad, or indifferent. I mean, Westberg's got good numbers, 282, 936, and 831. But again, it's tough to not put Devers in there.
Oh, for sure. I agree with you. I try not to be too biased towards my guys, and I like you said, you could make a case for Mountcastle at first. He hit 2 bombs the other day. He's starting to get more and more consistent. His first base play is impeccable. So I definitely see what you're saying.
Well, and I know I'm one of those. Do what?
Matt, outside perspective, is Paul Skeens going to make the All-Star team?
He should. I don't see how you leave him off. Unless because I know pitchers aren't voted on. Pitchers are voted, brought in by the manager, I believe.
They are, but okay. Here's where my only argument comes in. Do you take Jones or do you take Skeens?
I mean, I personally like Skeens, but that's just me as an outsider.
Yeah.
Matt, you lost.
I mean,
buddy.
Yeah, I just saw that.
I can't win them
I'm
all,
just,
buddy.
I'm looking at the first baseman right now for voting it. Other than Vlad, Mountcastle has the best stats for first baseman.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah, Vlad has his batting average is 9 points higher, and he's got 2 less RBIs and 4 less home runs. I mean, realistically, Mountcastle should make the All-Star team if voting was done correctly. But I know a lot of people are going to vote Vlad. I know a lot of people are going to vote Rizzo, even though Rizzo's hitting 236. He's a Yankee, and the Yankee fans are going to stuff their ballot boxes.
I thought it was funny. Judge doesn't have a home run tonight, but he had 5 RBIs.
Who's that?
That's weird.
Yeah. I mean, the Texas Rangers might vote in Lowe.
No, they won't.
You don't think so? I mean, he's only got 2 home runs this year. This is the first
and I know he's going to listen to this at some point because he's an old radio buddy of mine from here in Texas. AJ, I'm saying this for you. Nate Lowe is not an all-star first. He was not a Gold Glove first baseman last year. The man cannot dig a ball out of the dirt, first off, and he's hitting about 230 this year. He's not he is not what he was last year. At the bat, he is definitely not a Gold Glove. I don't know what they were comparing him to when they gave him the Gold Glove. It's absolutely insane. Yes, he hit last year. He hit very well last year. If you look at his career trajectory, my buddy AJ is a huge Nate Lowe guy. Sorry. No, Rangers fans are not going to vote him in. You do have a point with Rizzo, though. I think you may get a bunch of those Yankee fans and former Cub fans that may vote Rizzo and with Vlad, but
Where's the All-Star game?
he,
I don't even know.
It's in Texas.
it is in Texas. But if you're going to sit there,
that's why Lowe's
if you got,
but you're gonna
but you got two. You got too many other Rangers to get in there because you got Simeon, you got Seager, you got Jonah Heim, and you got Adolis Garcia.
And I don't even think Heim. This is where my bias may come in a little bit, but if you ask me who's the better catcher right now, I'm saying Adley over Heim. I think the only thing Heim's got over him right now is throwing out runners.
Oh, now I'm not saying all 5 of those guys are going to start.
Yeah,
they're going to make
absolutely.
the team. But yeah, I mean, and I'm sitting here. Actually, I've been doing a ballot throughout the course of the evening, and I mean, the catcher spot is tough because a lot of people overlook Danny Jansen. Danny Jansen is a really solid catcher. I mean, the guy's hitting 270, plays a good defense. Sal Perez is having a career year at like 65.
He's got one
and
less
you got
RBI
Adley
than Gunnar.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it comes down to Sal Perez and Adley for that catcher spot. And you could legitimately put either one in there. I don't know about you guys.
Right.
You could legitimately put either one in as starter.
I agree with you. Right now, there's 2 catchers that are hitting over 300, and it's Sal and Adley. And you can't be mad at either one of them making the All-Star team as a starter. Now, Heim might get in on the popular vote, but that could be he could be a backup. It doesn't really matter as long. I just want my guys to make the All-Star team. It doesn't matter if they start to be or not, as long as they make it.
Well, I'm that way. I think that Heim makes it. I don't think that Heim gets voted in. But that's just like AL shortstop. I mean, good grief. You look at AL shortstop right now. You got Gunnar. You got Jeremy Pena, who's playing extremely well right now. You got Seager. You got Volpe, and you got Witt.
Yep.
Somebody ain't going.
Yeah. And then you still got Carlos Correa hanging around.
Yeah, but he's been hurt a lot.
He's been hurt a lot. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And Bichette's not even in the conversation to make the All-Star team.
No. To me, he's not hitting good enough.
Yeah, but between Gunnar, Witt, Volpe, and Seager, there's a very good chance the AL has 4 shortstops on the All-Star team, with somebody else getting snubbed somewhere else as an alternate.
Yeah, either at second or at third. Yeah, you're right.
And what's crazy is Gunnar can play all third base too.
Rich, you could have bragged about your guy tonight. He had a home run.
Do what now?
Heim hit a home run.
Oh yeah. I was keeping an eye on the Pirates game, so I see Heim just tagged up though. He hit a double just a second ago. Rangers are up 4-1. No, I mean I'm a big fan of Heim. I don't think he's an all-star starter this year. But I think he's an all-star. But that's the cool part about being able to vote for the all-stars is, everybody has their logic for guys, and they firmly believe it. Just a matter now. I mean, if somebody was voting for JJ Bleday to make it, then you might have step away from the crack pipe kind of thing.
Very true.
Yeah, now.
Hey, Brian Hayes.
Oh.
But
Matt,
Adam,
you got foul ball tomorrow night, but
Yes, I do. Thank you for leading that in. I appreciate you guys letting me come on and talk some baseball and talk about my Orioles. Talking about your Pirates and all that. I this is one of those situations, Adam, and Adam, you know this, but Rich, uh, I have no ill will towards the Pittsburgh Pirates because we see each other maybe once a year. Um, and you guys have a very good young ball club. That I'm looking forward to seeing your 7 foot tall shortstop become a perennial all star. And I, you know, I do like you guys enough to where it's not like the Ravens and Steelers. That's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother time of the year.
Yeah.
So I'll be on to talk my trash. The closer we get to the season, and I can let you guys know how shitty Patrick Queen's going to be playing middle linebacker for you by week 7. But yes, tomorrow night we got foul ball talk over on my channel. Adam, I want to thank you for letting me invite me on. Rich, it was great to talk ball with you. Very knowledgeable, and you definitely know what you're talking about. I appreciate talking ball with you
I
fellas.
appreciate it, man. It's good to meet you too, and yeah, it's definitely cool to talk ball with you. You definitely know your O's inside and out, and that's a good thing. It's a real good thing,
Yes,
Matt gets to
I
talk to
try.
Tim Burton every once in a while on the podcast. Rich.
sir.
Matt has talked to Tim Kirchin twice now on the podcast.
Yes,
Very nice.
I just had Tim Kirchin on a couple weeks ago. He was in a hotel cafe, gave us 30 minutes, and I interviewed Tim last year right before the All Star break, and
That was
it
awesome.
was really cool to talk ball with him, and I've had the privilege of having Mike Bordick and uh, you know Steve Johnson and some older Orioles on. Josh Towers gave us about an hour and a half of last month, and that dude is probably one of the funniest people I've ever had on the show.
That's awesome. That is
I
fantastic.
like
Yeah, when
Ray
you
Rice.
get
I
somebody
like
like a
Ray Rice.
Kirchin, man, you're in high cotton there.
And I'm not even going to take credit for getting Tim. I've made quite a few friends with some with the radio personalities at 105.7 The Fan, the CBS affiliate here in Baltimore. I've had the pleasure of interviewing probably half the station and having them come on and talk ball. And somebody linked me with Tim, and they put me in contact. I did like a cold text message type of thing, and
Mhm.
I was surprised he got back to me in like 7 minutes or 8 minutes. He must have had his phone in his hand when I texted him, and he was like, "I got this date and this time available. I'm constantly running for ESPN. I'm writing books, and I got my own podcast." I'm like, "Hey, bud, whatever you need." Like I just, you know, that was like
I'm
a dream
good
because
to
I've been
Tim
watching
Burton.
him on my TV for like 30 years.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, that's super cool. That is super cool.
Yeah, it was surreal. I've done this now for almost 4 years, Rich, and um, I broke out in a cold sweat before I went on air with him. You know, I knew I could do it, but it's like I'm getting ready to talk baseball with somebody that I used to watch on my TV 11:30 at night when I was 7, 8 years old,
Mm-hmm.
talking baseball.
I mean, I've been in the radio business 20 years. I just had my 20th anniversary last month,
Congratulations.
and thanks. And there's still some of those guys out there that I get a little, nervous when I'm talking to. And it's a lot of different sports, but yeah, there's
It's
those
got,
guys.
it's got the
I've probably interviewed Nolan Ryan 10 times, and I still get nervous every time I talk to him.
That's awesome.
You got to meet Vince McMahon.
Um, I did.
Who'd you meet?
Vince McMahon.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I've met him. I actually escorted Jerry Jones around the Texas Sports Hall of Fame whenever he got his induction into the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. I was on the executive directors committee over there, and when they put him in, the curator of the Hall of Fame was our morning show host on the station, and we drew names to see who of the inductees we were going to escort around. And when I drew Jerry's name, Steve just dropped his head. He's like, no. I said, what? He said, please be nice. I said, what are you talking about? I said, this guy has donated more money to this building. I hate the Cowboys with every fiber of my soul. And I tell everybody to listen that I do. And I'm the most logical Cowboys hater on the planet, which drives Cowboy fans even crazier. So we get to, and it was so funny because when I showed up, Steve almost had a heart attack. He really did. The curator of the Hall of Fame, because I had my black suit, black jacket, gold shirt, black pants. Right. So, he shows up and we're talking and all this other kind of stuff. And, I was all was good. No problem. And we started talking after the end of the tour and all that. And he says, so I gather you're a Steelers fan. I said, I am. I'm originally from Pittsburgh and all that. And, I told him I grew up in Arlington. He said, so what do I have to do to convert you to a Cowboys fan? I said, sell the team.
That's funny.
Because the respect that I had for Tom Landry and Tex Schramm and those guys, even though I was I was 1 year out of high school when all that stuff went down with the sale, the way that he handled it, and he's even admitted that he handled it wrong, but the way that he handled it with Tex Schramm and Gil Brandt and Tom Landry and those guys, these are the guys that made the franchise what it was. And for you to basically just say, there's the door, don't let it hit you on the way out. Nah, that bruised me the wrong way. So I didn't like the Cowboys to start with. I hated them after that.
I don't have any hate towards the Cowboys. I don't understand the arrogance of the fan base, because I've been a football fan since 1996. I was 8 years old when the Ravens got here. I never understood the lore. They're living off of a reputation from now 4 decades ago to 7 decades ago. You have not been relevant in pro football in 25, almost 30 years now. I think this is the 30th anniversary of their last Super Bowl this coming year.
Right.
When
Neil O'Donnell won the game for them.
Yeah, when Neil O'Donnell was the best player the Steelers ever had, or the Cowboys ever had. But you're right. And the thing is, too, and you bring that up, I tell people all the time, this is part of that logic kind of thing that really just gets Cowboys fans mad. There are people who will get their doctorate degree from Baylor University this year that have never seen the Cowboys in an NFC Championship game in their lifetime.
Huh.
And oh boy.
One thing as a Ravens fan that they get pissed off about. See, the thing is, Adam's over here on the East, on the East Coast as well, and you grew up over here. Maryland, Baltimore, and PG County in particular, and even DC. There's an outstanding amount of Dallas Cowboys fans. It's almost it's like you're living in the Matrix almost, because there's certain sectors where there's a couple of Dallas Cowboys bars here in the state, and there's a lot of Cowboys fans that got converted after Snyder bought the Redskins, and they always talk a lot of trash about the Ravens, about us having only 2 Super Bowls. I'm like, we've been in the league for just under 30 years. So 2 Super Bowls in 30 years, it's nothing to scoff at. I said, but who shut down Texas Stadium? And they get mad because LaRon McClain and Willis McGahee ran for 170 yards on 2 carries. And we shut down the old Cowboy Stadium. And that was the last home game they ever played there. And that burns them up. And they're like, oh, well, we got 4 or 5 Super Bowls. Who gives a shit? I was in, starting kindergarten when you guys won a Super Bowl. I don't give a shit about you.
The one that really barbecues the Cowboy fans around here is they've got this whole mantra about they're America's team. We're America's team. I got news for them. The original team that the NFL wanted to be America's team was the Steelers. And Art Rooney said, no, we're not America's team. We're the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then they went to the Cowboys and gave them that moniker with Captain America with Staubach and all that kind of deal. The only reason they got that moniker was because the Steelers didn't want it.
That's that. I mean that's true in a historical aspect. Before I pop off here, Rich. It's so
Yeah.
refreshing talking to another logical football fan that's happened. You're now my second Steelers fan that I can tolerate. So you know,
I
I'm saying
appreciate that.
I'm saying that on live recording, so it's not in it's not in just after we get off air. I'm a diehard Ravens fan. I was born into it pretty much. My dad, had season tickets at Memorial Stadium and at M&T Bank. Has our rivalry lost its luster when the generation of the 2000s players moved on to retirement? Because I personally feel that not only is the millennial generation and later holding on to this rivalry, but I feel like the players don't take it as serious as guys like Hines and Ray and Ed and Lamar Woodley and Harrison and Palomalu. Those guys that I know I'm talking about a lot of Hall of Fame players and Hall of Fame caliber players, but it just it's lost its luster a little bit to me.
Matt, what was the biggest thing whenever you had Ray Rice on, Daniel Wilcox, you had who's our normal guy that
Bernard
talks about
Pollard.
my Mr. Pollard, of course. But what was the one thing they said off screen whenever I jumped in and was able to talk to them? What was the one thing they always said when the schedules came out? They
They looked at
circled Pittsburgh week, and then they started who they played afterwards because they knew they were going to be completely beat up and have to get ready. They were praying it was like a Thursday night game so they could rest for 10 days and just be ready to go. I mean, even Ben said this you needed almost 2 weeks from this rivalry to recover.
I just feel like it's personally lost its edge, not its luster, but it's lost its edge because the players don't naturally hate each other the way Ray hated Hines and the way that Ryan Clark hated everybody. I respect that rivalry. I hate you guys, but it's a mutual respect because we had the best rivalry in football for a good 15 years.
It's still talked about this
Yeah.
day. We live in it. We live in those moments. As a fan, I look forward to those games. But then, like Matt, as you said, once the players started to fade away, the rivalry was never really picked up. I mean, Terrell Suggs tried to carry it on once all those guys were gone, but it was never the same once that core was gone.
What were you saying, Rich? I'm sorry.
Well, no. And Adam has a great point, but I think a large part of it too is that in the last, let's say, 15 years, when you look at when the rivalry was at its peak, guys were with the team for 10, 12, 15 years. Ed and Ray Lewis and Siragusa and all these guys, Flacco, all those guys
Suggs,
were with the team and the Suggs, and on the Steelers side, you had Palomalu and you had Ryan Clark and you had Joey Porter and you had Hines Ward and all. Nowadays, you got guys changing teams more frequently than you and I change socks. And
that's true.
From one year to the next, I mean, how many guys? I would really be interested to look at the rosters and see how many guys between the two rosters right now have played on both teams. And that takes a little bit away from it, like Patrick Queen's situation. I'd be really interested to check into that. I may have to do that whenever we go off the air. But I think that that's been a big part of it, is just the simple fact that you don't have those guys building that hate for each other, because it was as bad as Steelers Oilers, Steelers Bengals in the 70s, Steelers Browns in the 70s, and that kind of thing. It was that bad at its peak. And now yeah, you're right. It's lost its edge.
It definitely has, because there was nothing like being either at the game or watching it on TV, and you're listening to surround sound. You hear, the trash talking. You hear the hitting. You see the general despising nature that each team had for each other, and it's like, I hated Ryan Clark. I hated Hines Ward. I hated, but I respected Polamalu, because Polamalu was a Raven killer for a while. And then on the other side, you guys knew it was a dogfight coming in. Ray Lewis over that middle, Ed Reed deep. You had Suggs on the edge that would cause chaos. Haloti Nada broke Ben's nose. There's a lot. I remember. I'm never going to forget this visual where we're watching. It was in Pittsburgh. I can't remember what game, but LeRon McClain is met, I believe, by Ryan Clark at the 2-yard line. And to see McClain like find that extra will and get across the goal line, and they had the goal line camera. It might have been a playoff game or a late, it was cold outside, but just to see the grit and to see the tenacity of each team. But now it's like everybody's friends. They vacation together in the off season. They work out together in the off season. Like, it pisses me off that Lamar Jackson doesn't hate the Pittsburgh Steelers the way Joe Flacco did. And that's one of the only negative things I can say about Lamar in terms of his off field is you're not supposed to like anything up to the northwest of us. We're not friends here. And I feel like the rivalry lost its luster once Antonio Brown left and then Ben Roethlisberger retired. I feel like that was like the end of an era, so to speak, to where, I remember Santonio Holmes catching that ball over the goal line in Baltimore 10, 15 years ago. I remember his toe tap catches in the background. I remember Emmanuel Sanders, Plex Burris. I remember those guys. Heath Miller. I remember, thinking to myself, Jerome Bettis is a fucking defensive tackle that carries the football. Like, Amos Zaraway. I remember all those guys. Alan Faneca. I knew I had to know my guys. The guys that we were facing. It was a we were guaranteed to see each other 3 times a year for a good 5-year stretch in the mid 2000s, where we saw each other in the playoffs almost every single year.
Well, and I was the same way anyway, because I'd be thinking, what in the world do we have to do to get somebody past Ogden? What do we got to do to get somebody past this guy? What do we got to do to get something up the middle against Burke? And that kind of thing. And I'm just like, good freaking grief. And of course, the running backs, the guy that shall not be named because he's a 100% douchebag. And, other guys that you guys had on that team that were just hard nosed, went out there and you could tell it was 70s football. When those guys played each other, it was 70s style, early 80s style football. Another part of what I think the problem is, and this is what my particular calling for it, is the wussification of the NFL.
They've policed violence out of the game.
You can't hit somebody. Some of those hits Hines Ward took, guys would have lost their entire contract.
I think about Ryan Clark. I think about Ed Reed.
Yeah, exactly.
Troy wasn't necessarily a headhunter, but Ryan Clark wanted to kill people out there. He didn't.
So did Reed. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Before Reed's neck injury, he wanted to kill people out there. There's still a famous clip that goes around where the Ravens are playing the Indianapolis Colts, and it's a punt. It's on a punt team where a player held Ed Reed from making a punt block, and he
held him in the end zone for safety.
No, it wasn't that one. It was where Ed Reed was held trying to block the kick, and then Ed Reed runs all the way downfield about 40 yards, circles back, and crackbacks this dude with a 25-yard head start. And like the dude, like he said, get off the field, boy. And you hear Ray Lewis going crazy on the mic. It's like you would never see that today's game because they've completely outlawed you running up field and then running back towards the play.
Exactly. I mean, football's a collision sport. This just in. It's a collision sport. You wear all these pads and all this stuff for a reason. And they've got it to the point now. They joke about it on a lot of these, Saturday Night Live and that kind of stuff. They joke about it, but it's getting to the point where it's the God's honest truth. You got to pick the guy up, lay him very gently on the ground with a pillow underneath him, put a blanket over top of him, and then they might be down.
And
Yeah,
this year this year they made it legal for players to wear those padded outer layers over top of their helmets for regular season games. So
Okay,
how many
now
guys are you going to see doing that?
that particular aspect of it, I don't mind. And it's funny because they did a survey. I don't know if you guys saw this or not. They did a survey of NFL wide receivers. This was 3 years ago when they made the big change about not going low or not going high, go low. Okay. They interviewed the receivers after that season and they said, okay, would you prefer that we allow you, if we were going to allow the defenders to hit you high or low, what do you prefer? And they said, hit us high. Because you're blowing our ACL. You're blowing every ACL in the league because you're having these guys hit us low.
Ankles, you're breaking the lower ankle, lower leg, high ankles. I never played past the high school level, Rich, but the thing is, back when I played in the early 2000s, 100% hit me in the shoulder pads and the helmet before you hit me at my knees. My knees are what leads me to walk and all that.
Exactly. I was always taught face mask between the numbers. That was the way I was taught to hit somebody. You put your face mask right there in the middle of the numbers and good luck on them after that.
Yeah.
If they survive and get up, great. If not, well, that's on them. But that's the way you saw guys like, Jack Ham and Jack Tatum and Jack Lambert and Randy White and guys like that play the game. You hit that way. Even Ray Lewis and Terrell Suggs and, guys like that and Polamalu and Clark. And when you look at it now, seriously, hit somebody for once, and they're making it so non-contact.
Yeah.
That it's crazy. I like the idea. I honestly like the idea though of the helmet thing.
I'm not I'm just a traditionalist, I guess, but
giving the players the option, not making it mandatory, giving them the option. It's kind of like when they first brought the helmets into hockey and made it optional.
Yeah.
If they want to make it optional, okay, fine, guy. Hey, if you feel comfortable wearing it, fire away. No big deal. If you don't, okay.
Yeah, but boys, we went down another rabbit hole into a completely different sport. I appreciate you guys having me on. I know you got to finish your Bucks chat. I know the game's over, so you guys can kind of break that down. Thank you for having me on. Adam will be live tomorrow night at 8:00. If you're home from work, you can pop in post show. We'll be recapping the last couple of series with the Rays and the Blue Jays. So yeah, love to do this again closer to football season, Rich, and we can have you guys on for some football talk.
I'm in.
Sounds good to me.
You know me, man. I'm always in.
Right. I appreciate you.
Down for it.
How people get a hold of you, buddy?
I'm on Facebook. My name on the screen here. On X at BWATB Podcast. We're on Spotify, Pandora, iHeart. I'm on the YouTube channel for Driving to the Top Sports with you, Adam. On our Twitch stream as well. And
Twitch was down earlier. I don't know. You didn't go live. You have to let me know tomorrow if it's back up.
It's good on the corner of my page now. So
okay, yeah, I just saw that now.
Yeah, so you can find me on there. I'm a gracious partner, a thankful partner for Driving to the Top with you, Adam. I always appreciate you let me come on and talk some sports with you guys.
Still want
Have
to
a good
get the
night,
Rod
fellas.
Woodson. I still want to get Rod Woodson on.
Well, I'm trying, man. I'm trying. We'll make
Just
that
so we
happen.
can have
If
both-
if
just
I
so we
can
can
get
have
Rod
both
on,
names.
if I can get Rod on, you guys will be on the show.
Sounds good.
That'd be cool.
All right, fellas. Have a good night.
All right, buddy. Take it easy, Matt. All righty, everybody. That was Matt Trigger. Does foul ball talk. Tomorrow night, obviously, 8 o'clock. You heard it. Everybody tune in. Good stuff over there with him and Tim. Anyway, Matt, they're calling you Matt Rich.
I've been called worse recently.
I've been called every name in the book, so I don't give a shit.
Oh, that was
anyway,
an hour 10.
Yeah, I wasn't ready. Matt said I'll come on for 15 minutes. We got an hour. You know, you never know what you never know. I love it. Matt's a good
Right.
dude over there. He's one of the
Seems like it.
Baltimore people that I like.
There you go.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
I found him whenever I was looking for Baltimore fans. Like before I broke down and did Pirates, I used to look for fans everywhere and just bring them on my show and talk to them. Didn't give a shit. It was cool. It was a cool idea. I met a lot of people. I try to stay
Good
in
idea.
contact. I try. So
That's very cool,
what
man.
do you do? What do you do? 10-6, they almost blew it, huh, Rich?
They didn't almost blow it. Come on now. Let's
No.
not get that, frame of mind rolling, because there's enough supposed pirate fans out there that are doing that stuff.
We got 2 right now. We ended up winning the series against the Dodgers now. Tomorrow we obviously bring our brooms and let's take this one home.
That would be nice. I think Keller's on the hill tomorrow, right? If I remember right.
I
Look.
thought Felder was on.
Is it Falder?
I thought it was Felder.
Let's see. Thursday. Yeah, Falter against Walker Buehler.
The Dodgers might take this one tomorrow, Rich.
I don't know. I mean, Buehler is a stud. There's no question.
Right.
But
That's what I mean.
I mean, Paxton's been pitching really good this year, and we beat him up.
Holy cow! One
last night. 1-0 against a guy that is probably their number 2.
Yeah, Paxton really threw me off today. I got in the car and they're like 7-0 Bucks, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Paxton went 1.2 innings. So, he had a very, very off night tonight, Richard.
He did. He had one of those nights. Very good for us. And it didn't hurt much that we had our ace going. So
that's the funny thing. We always seem to do good against these Dodgers,
unless we're playing in LA.
I thought we took the series last year in LA.
I mean, like over like the last 20 years, they just don't. It seems like when the Bucks go on that West Coast swing, man, it's like L L L L W L L L L L W L L L. They just. It's kind of like when the Steelers play on in certain places. They go out there and it's like, this one's going to be kind of crummy. But yeah, I mean, the bullpen wasn't horrible tonight.
No.
4 innings. They gave up 5 runs and 3 runs in 4 innings. I'll tell you what, man, I'm growing more and more to like Holderman.
We're trying to find that away schedule.
But when they played the Dodgers earlier this year?
I was just trying to find it. Yeah, I was just trying to find a West
They
Coast
didn't
time.
play. They didn't play the Dodgers earlier this year.
Right, we're playing the 4th of July weekend again. Or no, we play them right around there.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, this could be. I mean, if they do this right, man, this could be a pretty solid little stretch because you take if you take let's call tomorrow an L just for argument's sake. You take 2 out of 3 against LA.
Right.
You take 2 out of 3 against Minnesota at home, which is very doable. And then you go to St. Louis and you're going Skeens, Falter, Keller. You could take 2 out of 3 there. And then you go to Colorado for 3, which I'm sure you're going to want some revenge for whenever Colorado came to town and did some nasty things to you.
You are aware that the Cardinals are getting hot.
But look at who we're throwing though. I mean, you're throwing 2 of your best.
Will they
And
be in line
Falter,
right
who's on a roll. I mean, you could legitimately go 9-3, 8-4 in these 12 games.
So
You do that.
Skeens would pitch the middle game of the St. Louis series, right?
Yeah. No, Skeens would throw the first game against Mikolas. That'd be Falter against Gray and Keller against Lynn.
They already have that up?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think they were that far yet. I didn't look like you, Rich.
But,
I was just guessing. I didn't know.
No, it's projected starters, but still.
I thought Skeens
Yeah, I mean,
that would have been game 5.
that's in fact that's Skeens' next start. Actually, it'll be next Tuesday.
Right, it would be that middle game, right?
First game.
Or
They're off on Monday.
They're off next Monday. Gotcha.
Yeah, they're off Monday. They play at St. Louis Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Then they go to Colorado for the weekend.
That means we're at the 8.
But I mean, if they go 9-3 in that 12-game stretch, LA, Minnesota, St. Louis, Colorado, or let's say 8-4.
Okay.
If they go 8-4 in that stretch, that puts them 35-35.
I was gonna say
They're playing. They're at 500. 500 in the National League puts you. I mean, heck, they're only a game and a half, I think, out of the wild card spot right now.
I don't know. That's amazing to me because we're 4th in the division.
I understand this.
I didn't look at that. I just seen we were 4th. Now you're telling me
We're one. We're one
down.
game out. We're one game out of the wild card. Last I saw it, it was in. Oh, there we go. We found it, honey. Sorry about the interruption, folks. We had a grandson emergency. He lost his car. We had to find his car.
I've come all the way back and tied it.
So sorry, man.
I'm just saying the Cubs have just come back and tied it. They're down 5-0 at one point.
Against the White Sox?
Yeah, it's now 5-5.
Wow. But yeah, I mean the Pirates right now. Here's the craziest part of this. The Pirates are one game out of the wild card. Okay. As it sits right now, the Braves, the Padres, and the Cubs are the wild card teams. The Cardinals are a half game out. The Giants and the Pirates are a game out. So, yes, we're in for
the extension guy makes it way more interesting.
Well, it does, but even looking at the division, you're only a game out of second place in the division. And oh, by the way, once you get done with that 12-game stretch that we were just talking about, you get Cincinnati, who right now ain't doing much for another 3. So, say again?
Cincinnati's right below us, like one game, right?
Yeah. So, I mean,
and they came back and won big tonight.
Mm-hmm. And
I
you
mean, they
have
were
six games in 9 days against Cincinnati.
Cincinnati was down. They were down a good bit today too, to Colorado.
Well, but I mean, from
And
June
they
17th to June 26th, they play 9 games. 6 against Cincinnati, 3 against Tampa. When we talked about this a week or two ago, remember I said the month of June was going to be huge for what the Pirates do this season. And they're starting out the right way. I mean, I think they are anyway.
Yeah,
They're 3-1 in June. Huh?
Definitely on the right track. I mean, beating LA is a huge boost to this whole locker room.
Right? But they're and they won.
I would hope it is. I would hope it wasn't like, oh, yay. Should be some high fiving going on, some excitement.
Man, if we just had a fifth starter. And and if we wouldn't spit the bit when Jones comes out. Jones is 4-5 and has no business being 4-5.
No, we don't score runs for him.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, not scoring for him. But I mean, you got Falter, who is 3-2. You got Skeens, who's 3-0 now. Huh?
We'll see how he looks tomorrow.
Right. You got Skeens, who's 3-0. You got Keller, who's 7-3. And you got Jones, who's 4-5, who is pitching a hell of a lot better than 4-5. Those four, okay. Your fifth? I mean, your fifth is on the injured list right now in Martin Perez.
He's starting to fall apart too, though.
Well, I told you a while. Do what?
He's gonna be like Joe Flacco.
Well, I told you a while ago. If Perez went 500, okay. Because I knew he wasn't going to win 15 games. If he went 10-10,
we forgot to ask Matt. Rich, we forgot to ask Matt why didn't they look at Trevor Bauer right now?
That's true. That's true because you've been on the Pirates getting Bauer wagon.
Because he's bad news, Rich. I don't think he is.
I don't.
He ran into some mischief. What athlete hasn't run into mischief?
Well, it's not that. I mean, what he got accused of is pretty major. The big thing with it is he was found not guilty. The evidence was not there. And that's the thing. It's not Ray Rice. And I always use that as the comparison. That's the guy that I said whose name shall not be mentioned. But
Ray Rice was one of the nicest people I met on camera.
Well,
I got a whole different perspective on him. He was an absolutely great guy, down to earth. I know what he did. I know.
And that may very well be the case. That is my number one. Now, remember, 7 foot at that time, 4 bills. Okay. If somebody needs someone to beat on, I was standing nearby. If that ever, that just,
it don't sit well with anyone. It never should. It never
right.
should.
Right. No. And and I understand people can straighten out themselves and people can do those kinds of things, but you can't undo something like that. You can't take it away. I mean,
you can't take it away, but you can be cautious and still like the
guy. Right. But in Bauer's case, I mean, was he kind of a abrasive guy anyway when he was playing? Sure. But I mean, there's a bunch of abrasive guys out there right now. That's no big deal.
Abrasive.
Hmm.
You don't win Cy Young's not being that excitement, that jump, that
Yeah, but I mean, he was not afraid to throw somebody under the bus, that kind of thing. Um, he could be, you could tell he could be pretty abrasive. I don't, you know, it'd be worth taking a shot. I mean, veteran minimum.
He only wants 750. He just wants league minimum just to get a foot back in the door. 750 is what Lamar just sat out OTAs for.
Right. I mean, that's why I say, would I take a chance for the minimum if I'm the Pirates? Yeah. I mean, they talked about it for the Rangers down here. They talked about it whenever we had the whole rotation on the injured list. Still do. We got like our top 3 pitchers are all on the injured list.
Right.
And they talked about Bauer here.
I don't understand why no one wants to give this man a shot.
I don't quite get it either, but I'm sure I wouldn't be surprised if at some point you see some, when it really gets down to brass tacks and it's down the home stretch, if somebody brings him in.
Right.
Might even sign him to a minor league deal if he'd take that.
League minimum at 750.
Do what now?
He just wants league minimum at 750. That's what I mean. It's nothing to these men. Like, wait, let me rephrase that. It's nothing to them. To me, that's
Yeah.
never seen that kind of money.
Right. I mean, you definitely have to take it all in context, but
right.
I fully understand where you're going.
I'd take a flyer.
It'd be interesting. I would. I mean, I wouldn't be against taking a flyer on him.
Very.
Man, you're gonna have to do a all-star ballot next week, and we can compare notes.
We'll have to do one this week. See what we do. I haven't filled one of them out in years, Richard. Years.
Oh, I fill one out every year.
Just one.
Just one. Okay. I do have 1 Pirate and 2 Rangers on my ballot.
Okay. I'm gonna guess Simeon and Sager.
Yep.
What Pirate? Huh?
1 Pirate.
O'Neill Cruz?
No.
Not even close. There's too many good shortstops in the NL. Holy cow. Either Reynolds or McCutcheon.
Reynolds.
I'm surprised with the way McCutcheon's. You didn't pick him.
Well, I love Kutch. I mean, who doesn't love Kutch? But I can't. And when you look at Reynolds, I mean, he's averaging over a hit a game. He's got 63 hits. So he's on pace for 200 hits, or 175 hits. He's got 8 homers. He's driven in 34. He leads the team. He's got 5 steals. He's hitting 250, but he's a baseball card guy. Season's over. He'll be between 280 and 300. And that's just I had his OPS is 730. It's good. It's good enough. So, but yeah.
All right.
I mean, the only other one that I have on here that I think could be argued is my DH in the American League.
Give you a team.
Huh?
What team?
Oakland.
Okay.
Brent Rooker.
I was gonna say an awkward name.
Yeah, I was gonna say a lot of people are gonna go, "Who in the hell is that guy?" Well, I mean, the guy is hitting. He's hitting about 285. He's got 12 homers. Um, he is the best player on that team, and he just happens to be their DH at the same time. But
Mason Miller ain't too
you
bad
know,
either.
huh?
Mason Miller ain't too bad. Their closer.
Well, but you can't vote for him.
Right. That is true.
Now, if he's not, Miller is probably going to be the one. Miller's probably going to be the one that makes the team.
Right.
But because I mean, this kid is lights out, no questions asked.
Right.
Despite being on a trash team,
He's probably going to get traded.
wouldn't be surprised.
And there's going to
I
be
mean,
a
I've
team.
heard.
He's a rookie, right? I think it's his first year still.
Believe so. Second year, maybe. But the one thing that I did hear, and I was sitting there going, "Wow, he would." Boy, would he make a difference?
I was waiting for Matt to
Could
bring
you
him up.
imagine? Do what?
I was waiting for Matt to bring him up whenever they talked about he was talking about Kimball, and I'm not excited about Kimball. I was waiting for him to bring him up. I wasn't going to bring him up, but I thought for sure Matt would have brought him up tonight.
By the way, you know where Mason Miller is from?
I have no idea.
Pittsburgh.
Is he really?
He is.
Well, unfortunately, we kind of don't have room for a closer.
Trust me, I would hand Aroldis Chapman his walking papers if I brought this kid on.
I don't think he'd give us a hometown discount like our. I don't know. It doesn't even look like Sidney Crosby's going to be given a hometown discount on this extension either.
No.
I don't know if you're keeping an eye on that or not. He's always done his number as his contract, but they were saying this is going to be up in the 10 range. I didn't know if you saw that or not.
I mean, you got a new front office guy that was used to working his contracts to very much to his benefit. So, they got Yager in the front office now.
I know. I love it. I'm excited.
Just needs to grow the hair back out. Yager was my guy.
Dude. Yager was just Yager, man. There was no I mean, when he held up the Goldilocks space, you remember before he got traded?
Yep.
Just think if that trade never happened, Rich, if that trade never happened, we don't see Marc-Andre Fleury. We don't see Evgeny Malkin. We might not see Sidney Crosby. That trade probably helped save the team.
Probably.
Regardless of how mad we were when he left, and it was not pretty when he left.
No.
That was like the ugliest end of the season I've ever seen in my life, I think. There was just a lot of drama. He didn't want to be here.
Right.
And
I mean, in my office, I had 2 hockey cards. On my shelf that I had all displayed and all that. Had 2 hockey cards. One is Yager's rookie.
The score one, tops.
Upper deck
one. The score. I have the score one signed by Yager. He did.
Very nice.
I think it was at like Cochrane or something. Like one of the signings, it was like a free signing, and he signed everyone that was in line, so it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's one thing that I did like, and I like about most hockey players in general. They're really good with the fans, man. I mean, they're not like they're not like NASCAR guys, but they're pretty dang close. Yeah, I know. Like Mike Modano, who was down here in Dallas for a bunch of years. Man, I mean, he was as big a deal as Dirk Nowitzki
Oh, Mike
when it came to the
McDonald.
fans.
Now it's Jamie Benn.
Oh,
think
yeah.
big. I like Ben.
Yeah.
It's just me,
Yeah.
though. I mean, granted, you guys missed the cup. You know,
Yeah.
you could just feel Edmonton was going to roll after that Game 5 stomping in Dallas. You just felt like
Yeah.
the wheels were. You could just see the wheels were falling off of Dallas during that game. Like it was just they just looked dead.
Well, and when you look at it, I mean, realistically, yeah, Dallas really wasn't supposed to be there. Edmonton's really good. I think they win it all, to be honest.
I don't know.
They've
That's
just got
500-mile flight every other day. It feels like this is
yeah.
the farthest cup ever played. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I saw that. It's like 2,500 miles each flight or something like that.
Yeah, that's wild.
But at least we got one championship team here. And of course, the meme that's floating around here, okay, Rangers win the World Series in 2023. Stars make the Western Conference Finals in 2024. Mavericks make the NBA Finals in 2024. Dallas Cowboys NFC Championship 1996.
Can't help it. It's funny. I can't help it.
First time I saw that, I put it on there and I said, I'm just going to leave it right here. I put it on Facebook. I said, I'm just leaving it right here. And I caught so much grief. Oh my God. And that's the thing. I'm not a Cowboy hater for the sake of being a Cowboy hater.
Right.
It's the fact that I can't stand here's the biggest thing I can't stand in sports. And I say this.
Good.
I said this at the beginning of my show when it first started. I cannot in any way, shape, or form handle a fair weather fan. Oh, drives me. Oh,
Could you imagine if we had social media from 33 to 71 as a Steelers fan?
oh, geez.
You want to talk about brutal? And I always have to watch when I say that because it's 2024.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just crazy. Like, think about that. If we had social media during those years, people would
Mm-hmm.
be like, "How the
No,
hell are you still cheering for this team?"
you're 100% right. I mean, it hasn't exactly been a walk in the park the last 10 years, but I mean,
No, we're gonna keep our differences apart on that because we're far off on our reasons.
right. But I'm just saying, we haven't been perennial AFC championship contenders. We haven't been perennial Super Bowl contenders since Ben left.
They're snipping into
Let's
the
be honest.
playoffs and getting destroyed.
Would you rather get there and get destroyed or not get there?
I know this is a tough debate, tough question. I'd rather get a good
I
draft.
know.
I'd rather get a good draft pick.
But are they?
We're not
If
getting
you've
shit.
got the bet, if you got the best record of teams that don't make the playoffs, you get the 14th pick.
I know that. That's what I mean. Like, be like the
I'm
Eagles.
sorry, the 18th. I'm sorry, the 18th pick.
Be like the Eagles and bomb and end up with Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts falling to Philly that just doesn't happen. If you really want to get that high impact player like that, you got to have like a top 2 or 3 pick.
They did, didn't they?
Steelers have when?
Didn't the Eagles go like 4-13 to get Jalen Hurts?
Yeah, but Hurts should have never fallen to him. Hurts should have been taken because they took him at what was it 5?
I'm not sure. Who was in that draft class? What was that? 2019?
2020 NFL draft. He was the 53rd overall pick. Jalen Hurts was the 53rd pick in the draft. He never should have fallen that far.
What? How? Yeah. So a lot of teams passed up on him for sure.
A lot of teams passed on him twice. You get to 53, you've had 20 teams pass on you the second time.
Holy crap. Rich, it's 6-6 in the 8th now. The Cubs and White Sox.
Gotta love it.
Oh, your Rangers are up huge.
Yes, we are.
9-1.
Yep. I've got the game on in the corner of my eye here.
Gotcha.
It's been hit after hit after hit after hit after hit after hit. So, I mean, we should beat these guys into the turf. This weekend will be interesting. We got excuse me, the Rangers got a very banged up San Francisco team coming in. At least their pitching is banged up. Their hitting is fine. They've been hitting the ball well. I've watched them tear Arizona new in the last couple of days, but their pitching is definitely Blake Snell is down. Alex Cobb is down. Definitely not good.
Oh man. What were we sorry, I was looking up something, then
You're good.
Yeah, so what else we got? We're gonna do some MLB All-Star looks next week. What else we got?
Well, I mean, we can kind of start looking at start looking at the trade deadline. See, who is going to be out there, who's not going to be out there. Who conceivably could the Pirates acquire, but also who would they get rid of to bring in? Who off the roster, the 40-man roster right now, would they be able to dump to help? I mean, of course, everybody's like, well, trade Tellez. Okay, Tellez is going to get you a bag of balls and a bat. That's about all Tellez is going to get you. But there could be some guys that could get an impact player over here. That impact first baseman, maybe a Ryan O'Hearn, like we talked about earlier, or get a hitting center fielder. Michael A. Taylor's fine defensively. Can't hit a drop.
Right.
And you can't steal first.
Well, Javier Baez can.
Javier Baez 5 years ago? Sure.
Oh, remember that crappy play the Pirates did?
Mm-hmm.
A rundown between first and home.
Mm-hmm.
Someone clue me in on this.
Oh yeah, a lot of my people give me all kind of grief about that. You're talking all this noise. Remember when your Pirates did this?
How do we forget?
Yeah, okay, fine. We also got 6 big trophies for our football team, so you guys can all bite me. Yeah, that's what I usually end up telling them.
Still got 5 World Series trophies. Don't forget about that.
Yeah, but we haven't gotten one of those in 45 years.
Doesn't matter. We still have 5.
But the thing, there's a guy in Detroit, and I don't know what they would want for him. His name's Kerry Carpenter. Yeah, his name's Kerry Carpenter. Good ball player. Can play center field. I mean, he's not a stud, but he's one of those guys that's young that's going to develop. I love Riley Green. Their starting center fielder is ridiculous, but they're not going to let Riley Green go.
Yeah, I was gonna say it. That name didn't sound familiar to me, but I mean I heard it, but I'm sitting there thinking the other guys, their starter, Riley Green.
Yeah, Kerry Carpenter starts usually in right, but he's on the IL right now. He I think it was a hamstring thing or something, but I don't know. I mean, I have to do some research on that and see, you know.
All right, so we're gonna talk about possible trade suspects next week,
Yeah.
and the All-Star voting, and then we'll look over the week.
Say again.
We'll look over the week.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe even start looking into some things and I realize this may be a little weird,
I'll see if
but
I can
look at how
I'll see if I can
say
get a
again.
St. Louis guy too. I'll see if I can get a St. Louis guy too.
Okay. But maybe look at how that team in the early 90s grew into what it was. And kind of try and see comparison wise comparing to this team.
My team started growing in what, 89?
Right. And that, well, really earlier than that, because Bonds came up in 87.
Right. But it really didn't start gelling until 89.
Right. It didn't start taking off till 89. And they really took off in 91.
Well, I mean, we had to get by the
So
machine, and that was Rob Dibble, Eric. God,
Norm Charlton and Eric Davis,
Eric Sabo.
Sabo,
Chris,
yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, Chris Sabo, Eric Davis, Norm Charlton, Randy Myers, Jose Rijo, guys like that.
I had a hell of a team. That
But
night, Red Sox was pretty stacked.
yeah, but I'm just curious. I want to really kind of deep dive into that and see. Okay, where were the where were the Pirates in their development now compared to then? Is it the 89 team? Is it the 90 team? Is it the 88 team? So kind of looking at that, because obviously this team is not ready to contend for a National League championship. Let's be honest. But there's a lot of pieces that are there. Skeens could be a part of a championship team. Keller could be a piece. Jones could be a piece. Peguero can be a piece. Hayes and Reynolds and Cruz. So that's why I say I want to kind of look at that and see kind of where the comparison lies.
Okay. All right. We'll look into that. We got compare contrast. We got MLB. We should have a good show next week. And then I'll
We have
see
a
if
good
I can
show
find
every week.
this guy.
Yeah, we have a great show every week.
I know that, but it's always fun to look down the line.
You're right. You're right.
So, but anyway, Rich, how people get you, man?
On Facebook, it's Rich Richardson. On X, Twitter, Little White Bird, whatever you want to call it. Go Big, Go Home Pod, and hit me up and tell me what you think about what we're talking about. Good, bad, or indifferent.
Right. Got to thank Matt for popping over tonight. That was fun talking to him. Obviously,
Yeah, it was.
You never know. You never know when he's going to surprise us. He's good at bringing on surprise guests. He doesn't like telling me. That way, I'm totally blindsided. I think it's funny. So I'm just letting you know to be prepared, because sometimes when we talk Ravens, he likes to bring on a former Raven.
Okay. All right.
Just
That
letting
works.
you know, Matt's good at pulling surprises like that. So I just want to let you know to be prepared.
Gotcha.
Probably got to talk Steelers here eventually too. Look into that mess.
Oh yeah, I'm down with that.
But we're getting closer to.
I'm always down with that.
Latrobe.
Yeah, right around the corner.
That's when the show. That's whenever stuff starts really up. Yeah, you're right. I don't like this camera angle, but I wanted to try it. I can't sit like where I normally sit. I got to sit back to get the full facial view. I can't help it. I like to. I like to move the camera around. So probably my
Okay.
fault. But anyway, guys. Hey, Sports Talking It, YouTube, Driving to the Top Productions. Remember to like, subscribe, leave comments too, guys. Don't be afraid to get in there and leave comments. I don't know why. If anyone commented on any of the Twitter feeds, I know a couple of you guys are still out there watching, and I'm grateful for it. Let me know if you guys put any comments up there so I can figure out why Twitter's not working with StreamYard. Anyway, guys, have a good one, and thank you for tuning in. Peace.